everyone! Today we're doing something a little different. I'm sharing my first impressions of a new manga I picked up. Even before I started a YouTube channel, I knew I wanted to discuss manga in some capacity, and I finally got the push to start. I'm kind of nervous about it, but hopefully this will be fun. Let's get started. Today's focus is on ACCA 13 Territory Inspection Department, or just ACCA for short, which is the newly licensed manga published by Yen Press. The creator is Natsume Ono, who's famous for other works such as House of Five Leaves and Ristorante Paradiso. ACCA, as described by the manga, is a civilian-oriented organization that has its hand in multiple areas of life. There are ACCA fire departments and police officers, for example. Our main character, Jean Otis, is the vice chairman of the inspection department, which is basically responsible for inspecting and overseeing the 13 branches of ACCA in each of the districts in this kingdom. Because we're dealing with an organization that has many levels to it, in a country that seems to have multiple influential people, there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be laid before we can actually delve into the story, which is what this first volume accomplishes. In short, Volume 1 is essentially devoted to world building. Our story follows Jean as he conducts inspections of various branches, and I know, inspecting and bureaucratic work sounds pretty dull, but it's interesting seeing how Jean's mind works. He's originally presented as a cool, possibly rich guy who smokes a lot, even though cigarettes are hard to come by in this kingdom. He's easygoing and doesn't create a strong impression, but somehow he's second in command, which baffles some people. But within this first chapter, readers get to see how or why Jean is so good at his job, and why the inspection department is crucial to the kingdom. Jean becomes a character who is much more than he appears to be. This leads me to my thoughts on the other characters in this volume. Besides Jean, none of the others are nearly as memorable. For example, Jean has a handful of coworkers who are seen periodically, but there's nothing distinguishable about them. I don't even think they've been given names at this point. Given that it's the first volume, I think that's probably fine for now, but going forward, I'd like to see the other characters being fleshed out. And of course, I'd like to learn more about Jean. He does seem like a pretty mysterious guy. No one seems to know what he's thinking, and he's usually going about things at his own pace. The art in this manga is one of its most memorable parts. It's simple, straightforward, and it often feels cartoony or comic-y, which makes sense since it's a manga. Rather than trying to make everything look as detailed or as realistic as possible, I appreciate Ono's minimalism. There isn't too much attention given to the background, and even some characters look pretty simple, but I think there's enough detail that we know what's going on. It feels like we're looking at sketches, and I like the way everything sort of melds together. I feel like her drawing style would be well suited for paintings, and I quite enjoyed it, but that's just more of a feeling. I do think that the art might not be suited for some because it's not clean cut. I think it sort of matches the easygoing and no muss no fuss attitude that Jean has, so I think it works out. The story itself does come off as kind of slow, but by no means painfully so. I personally enjoy slowly building up a story and gradually adding nuance to a simple idea. It's not flashy, and it's not in a rush to get anywhere, and it takes its time introducing new puzzle pieces. For example, even though a coup is mentioned in the book's blurb, it's not even mentioned in the story until near the end of the volume. Early on, however, we do see some themes emerging, like the issue of the autonomy of the 13 regions, and social differences between ranks, and I really like those little things being introduced. I enjoyed this first volume. I think if you're someone who's interested in political or police drama, mystery, and even bureaucracies, this might be a story for you. I like that even though ACCA takes itself seriously, it's not so serious that there's no fun. Jean's coworkers and his sister are lighthearted and fun to be around, and Jean himself is a guy who smiles and can crack a joke. Overall, I think this first volume piqued my interest enough that I'd like to pick up new volumes when it comes out. But given the pacing of the story, it might be a series I'd like to read after collecting all of the volumes. I'm just usually so impatient when it comes to solving a puzzle. And that's it for this video. If I was unclear with any of my points, or if you want me to elaborate on something I mentioned, feel free to leave a comment and I'll definitely expand on my thoughts. I'd also love any feedbacks, as well as any recommendations you have for manga you want me to read. If you're curious about where I got the images I displayed in this video, I actually just opened up my volume and flipped through pages and just took pictures and then tried to make it look as pleasing as possible. If you're interested in ACCA, you can actually pick up the manga right now, but if you can't wait for manga releases, there's actually already an anime adaptation, and I've heard good things about it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.